Next, let's talk about a hormone peptide that activates hunger. And this is a really interesting one because it relates to when you get hungry, in addition to the fact that you get hungry at all. And it's called ghrelin. It's spelled Ghrelin. Ghrelin is released actually from the GI tract. And its main role is to increase your desire to eat. And it does that through a variety of mechanisms. Part of that is to stimulate some of the brain areas, the actual neurons that make you want to eat. In addition, it creates food anticipatory signals within your nervous system. So you start thinking about the things that you happen to like to eat at that particular time of day. And this is fascinating. Ghrelin is sort of like a clock, a hormonal clock that makes you want to eat at particular times. Now, the signal for ghrelin is reduced glucose levels in the blood. If it drops too low, ghrelin is secreted from your gut. It activates neurons in your brain at various locations. We all know about the famous Pavlovian experiments of Pavlov's dogs. You know, they start salivating to the bell after the bell was presented with food. You remove the food, and then just the bell can stimulate the salivation. We become Pavlovian at times. But rarely is it ever discussed what the neural pathways for that are. And it turns out that these hormones that are secreted from the gut can stimulate the neurons to create a sensation and a desire for certain foods at certain times of day. You've done this experiment. If you are somebody who eats breakfast at more or less the same time each day, let's say 8 a.m., your ghrelin secretion will start to match when you typically eat. And it's able to override the low levels of glucose in your bloodstream because the ghrelin system also gets input from a clock in your liver that is linked to the clock in your hypothalamus in your brain. And what this means is if you eat at regular meal times, you'll start to get hungry a few minutes before those meal times. If you've ever wondered why your stomach kind of starts to growl because it's a particular time of day, and you're like, oh, I must want to eat. Well, that's ghrelin. So ghrelin is secreted as a kind of food anticipatory signal to get you motivated to go eat at regular times. But what that means is that if you suddenly go from eating on a very regular schedule to skipping a meal or pushing your meal timing out or shifting it at all, you're going to have ghrelin in your system, and that ghrelin is going to stimulate the desire to eat by acting at the level of your brain. So ghrelin stimulates the AGRP neurons, which makes you want to eat.